What's up, everybody? This is No Chill MMA, joined by Cassius Clay, Apple Pie MMA, the undefeated, well, not undefeated. See, now I'm fucking up. The 6-1, all finishes, 6 finishes, heavyweight, Clay Jackson. How are you doing, my man?
What's going on, bro? Oh, man. So many emotions going on in my head right now. It was
that fight with Bear Hill, I mean, that's probably the biggest fight about. I mean, that was probably the most, I would say, maybe talented guys that you went up against, and definitely the most talented that he went up against so far in both of your careers. And you ended up getting the knockout, and you guys had I don't know if it was beef, but you were in each other's face screaming at the press conference.
Let me see that war face, baby. Let me see that war face, baby. To the fucking dirt, my bitch.
So what was that beef kind of about, screaming in each other's face, getting all amped up for that?
First of all, I think Bear Hill's actually a great guy, and I respect him a ton. You know, we just shared a moment that we're going to remember for the rest of our lives. But he hit me up in May, I believe it was May, wanting to fight. In June, I wasn't quite ready. You know, I'm a big guy, but I'm not at my worst by any means. Anyway, had to go through a solid fight camp to get myself in shape. And we ended up fighting at Combat Night in August.
Yep.
This last weekend. He hit me with 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's have a meme war. And I was cool with that. You know, I don't like talking to guys before I'm about to fight them, because it's like, man, you're trying to hurt me in front of my friends and family, and I'm trying to do the same thing to you. You know, we're literally going to war.
He posted that he's ready to eat apple pie. I did see that post from him.
It was a lot, man, and I appreciate him for it. He built up the fight, but I used to get bullied really bad when I was younger and never stood up for myself, which is kind of why I started doing MMA to begin with. Crazy, you know, I never thought I was going to end up fighting.
Yep.
But anyway, I wasn't mad at the time. It was actually hilarious, but, you know, at the same time, it's like, man, I'm offended. I got to beat this guy. And then I saw your episode about, you know, prospects in all 50 states, and, you know, seeing what Bear Hill did with his 2 years away from fighting. And he turned himself into an animal.
Yep, he got in great shape. He really did.
I shitted on myself, man. You know, I had surgery on my arm. I tore my bicep tendon. Wow. Some other health things going on. But I never stopped training. I just was doing more technique than hardcore cardio, and I didn't want to wrestle with anybody so much because, you know, I'm like twice their size. Anyway, every fight's a different fight, you know. Every day I'll wake up, I could be a different person.
But shit. So how did that fight go? I wasn't able to watch it all. All I saw was like the highlights of you knocked out Bear Hill.
So I didn't see the full video for several days. You know, it's hard to remember everything that happens in a fight. I do believe I think he got like 2.5 minutes of control time. I think I was a little bit busier with the striking, but the first round was razor close for sure. Second round, what it doesn't show in the highlight video that's going around anywhere, I think I hurt him with the first combo I threw. I think it was a straight left and an uppercut.
Yeah.
Both landed, and, you know, I could see it in his eyes. He was rocked and fainted with the left hand, and he went down. I think that was like 21 or 22 seconds into the second
round. Damn. So you did knock out one of my favorite fighters. So gotta hold you to that. But tell me about what happened post fight. What do you call that? Was that whiskey? What you put it in the damn cup and you shot it like America's tied to Ivasa?
Oh man, so I told my coach if I get a vicious knockout win in this fight, I'm doing a cuppy. He was like, "What's a
So
cuppy?" I'm just like,
copy.
so remember when Tai Tuivasa fought Derek Lewis?
Yep.
That fight was kind of the inspiration for that because Lewis, I think he took his cup off and threw it out in the crowd, and Tuivasa, chugs a beer out of his shoe after his fight, and I kind of put two and two together, and I said, "Let's do a coffee.
Yeah,
Let's
that
make
was
it
that
fun."
was one of the craziest, probably. Oh yeah,
I
probably the
don't think I could
craziest
drink out
post-fight
of somebody
victory.
else's cup, but I don't care. It's my own balls, I mean,
Yeah, that was
whatever.
probably the best. I mean, maybe the craziest post-fight celebration. I've never seen. I watch a lot of MMA. I've never seen somebody do that before. Never once in no fight I've seen somebody do that before. So talk to me more about being a super heavyweight. So you're obviously more comfortable fighting at super heavyweight, but that division, I mean, honestly, it's not really around in a lot of places. It's not in the UFC and the PFL.
Oh,
So how do you kind of find these super heavyweight guys to fight? And you have made 265 before, right?
well, my first amateur fight was actually 205. So I fought in three different weight classes. For sure, heavyweight. To be honest, the only reason why that was a super heavyweight fight for me was because I was out of shape
Yeah.
and eating what I wanted to, trying to look good.
So what do you cut down from?
For that fight, I cut down from what was I think like 339.
Yeah, damn.
And yeah. So I was 339 and I cut down to 285 is what we agreed on.
Yeah. So it was like a catchweight, super heavyweight fight. How do you feel about heavyweight? It's not like this in boxing or a lot of kickboxing. How do you feel about heavyweight having a limit? That never really sit well with me if it's supposed to be heavyweight.
I believe it should be split up a little bit different. I mean, it's a crazy gap from 205 to 265.
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys walking around, I don't know, like look at Alex Pereira, for example. I think he walks around at solid 230. If he could fight at the weight he walks at, like this, to me, the cutting weight thing's kind of crazy, which is insane that I cut weight for a super heavyweight
Yeah.
fight. But I just want to be in shape. I have plantar fasciitis in my feet, so whenever I get home from training, it's when I sit down on the couch, I have to almost crawl, to stand
Yeah.
back up. So yeah, losing weight is helping out a ton with that.
You think like 265 is gonna be your home for that? Because like heavyweights have a much longer shelf life. Like a lot of people, if you're gonna be in a lower weight class, you probably want to be real young. But heavyweights, I mean, you probably got another decade of fights in you if you really want to do that. You got a long time. Heavyweights just have a real long, shelf life compared to other divisions. You think 265 is gonna be your home, or you still gonna try to, go to super heavyweight? Because there's a lot of places where that is like a big attraction. Like I don't know if any Japanese promotions have reached out to you, but you would be big there for sure.
No, man, I got to get out of super heavyweight, not just for fight reasons, but for health reasons. I got to get down and be healthy. I do like heavyweight though, because as soon as you go to 205, those guys hit just as hard as the heavyweight and they're twice as fast. So
Yeah. You got to win, and I want you to tell me about this, which is crazy. You got to win over UFC fighter Val Woodburn, who's a middleweight.
oh yeah, that was God, I think that was 2017. I was actually 240 pounds for that fight, and I think Val weighed in at 235.
Damn. So
And
Val used to be a big boy.
yeah, man, when I found out he was fighting at welterweight in the UFC, that is insane because that dude's knuckles is like the size of my head.
Damn. And I also saw at super heavyweight, you got a submission. You got a submission win. I've never seen that in my life. What kind of submission win did you get at super heavyweight? Because it's not listed on
They
Tapology.
messed up with that. That was more of like a verbal. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So it was,
Verbal
it
submission.
was, yeah, verbal submission. So
All right, and now
what's
just
that?
some like general stuff about heavyweights and MMA. A lot of people think that the heavyweight division is on the decline, you're on the rise right now. What do you think? Because I think that there are some good I think Thomas Peterson's a very good fighter. I think there's people like that that are coming up that are pretty good. But a lot of people say, yeah, the heavyweight division's in a decline. They don't make them like they used to. How do you feel about stuff like that, coming up on the rise right now? You think it's an open season for a new guy to kind of make his mark, or do you disagree with most people's takes?
Oh man, I'm not even concerned with who the greatest fighter in the world is. I think entertainment's entertainment, man, and
Yeah,
people just want entertaining fights. People love to see Roy Nelson go out there and knock out these, behemoths, and people want entertainment. You
yeah.
know,
And
I
I would
don't
say
think.
you're definitely an entertaining fighter for sure. Definitely an
Yeah.
entertaining fighter. So with the career goals, I know that, a lot of regional, I mean, probably no regional fighter is able to go MMA full time, but is the UFC kind of like your career goal? Or like what do you really wish to pursue?
Oh man, my point of view on that is if I can't make it to the UFC, neither can you. So that's my mentality going into a fight. If I make it to the UFC, that would be awesome. I think everybody in the world who fights, an amateur kickboxing fight wants to be in the UFC, but
Yeah.
you know, it's I think my coach would disagree with me, but I don't care whether I fight in the UFC or not, man. That would be awesome.
Yeah, well, you do. I mean, for a heavyweight, you got a pretty damn nice, a shiny record, 6-1. A lot of regional guys are not coming really close to that right now. There's no real Americans on the rise. I would say it's you and a few other guys right now. Do you want to stay in Combat Night for another few fights? Is that gonna? I mean, it's been your home for your pro career so far. Or are you looking to explore and go all over the place and rack up some wins?
Man, I just want to make money.
Yeah,
I want to make money, and until I'm making, significant amount of money, Combat Night's my home. I love those guys. Uh, they took my nickname and made it a brand, and I'm forever grateful for
yeah.
those guys.
And where did
And
that come from? Apple Pie MMA.
so some jacked up ring announcer in a kilt. My first MMA fight, a jacked up ring announcer in a kilt, called me out as the self-proclaimed greatest fighter in the world, Clay Apple Pie Jackson, and that was crazy, to be called out. As soon as I turned 18, to be called out to something like that, like my emotions were already everywhere, and you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I kept it because I decided to own it, and I kept it, and that's where it came from, man.
Yep. And so how do you feel being walking around three over 300 pounds? How do you feel about bodybuilders targeting MMA guys just online on their own platforms? Just your average bodybuilder saying that they could beat a MMA fighter in a fight because you are that big. You're over 300 pounds. I'm sure you've sparred with guys who are small before. I see some of them saying, I could take Mighty Mouse, I could take anyone in the UFC. How much do you think that that really is valid?
I mean, the guy that I just fought looked like he belonged in a strongman competition, and he trained MMA. So I can't imagine, what I could do to somebody if they've never trained on how to fight, if they've only lifted weights for all their life.
Yep. So
Like,
you're even if someone's 260, for example, you're calling bullshit on that?
yes, sir. Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Yep.
Now, you take a freak athlete and give them a year worth of training under a top coach in the United States, and you got a monster on your hands. Don't get me wrong there, but a guy that's, just never trained MMA and decided to step in the cage, and that's suicide.
Yep. And just one last question before I let you go. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but what is next for Clay Jackson? You're 6-1 as a heavyweight. I mean, that's a record where Dana White's Contender Series could be knocking on your door sooner than later. Maybe just one more or two more, and they'll probably be contacting you. I mean, heavyweight is pretty thin in America. What's next for you, Clay Jackson?
I doubt it, but if they do, I'll probably be eating a McDouble whenever they give me a call. So